What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Now, I know I didn't post a Be With Bean yesterday. We are getting into the crunch of exams. So uploads are going to be a little less over the next week and a half as we crush out the rest of school and have plenty of time over the summer to continue uploading content for you guys and growing the channel so we can upload content more often. Now, Star Fox has been put on hold. We need to get the GameCube in order to continue with Star Fox Adventures. In the meantime, we're going to kickstart another series of the canon series, which is the Metroid universe. One of Nintendo's best franchises of all time. There's numerous games, and we're going to cover the entire canonical storyline of Metroid. Now, unfortunately, there's not going to be any gameplay in this video because I wanted to identify the timeline and I wanted to identify the initial story before the games actually take place. The first Metroid game actually kind of takes place in the middle of the timeline of the entire universe. There's 2 manga volumes that were released in Japan that give the initial story of Samus and some of the other characters in the series, and even those manga start after the initial dawn of the cosmos. So if we take a look here at the timeline, we want to be concerned with the years 1 to around 2000. This is the time before the manga volumes ever talk about. Now, in this time period, in year 1, the cosmos were born. And from year 1 to 2000, there was one race, an ancient bird-looking race that was all knowledgeable, called the Chizo. Now, these bird people seek prosperity within the universe. And the only things that we have to really be concerned about in this time frame is that they hop between 2 and 3 planets. They created a robotic species called Elysians on Elysia to help them with their everyday activities and stuff. And eventually they had to abandon Elysia. They found themselves on Talon 4, another planet, and then eventually on Zebes. Zebes is where our story begins, the story of Samus Aran and the rest of the universe. And the other big thing that we have to be concerned with is that in the year 2003, the Galactic Federation was born. That's the galactic police force or groupings of people outside of the Milky Way galaxy, as you can see here on the map. This takes us to about the time frame where the 2 manga volumes now come into play. They deal more with Samus Aran's history as a child and leading up to the first game of Metroid. I've attached links below with the official manga series if you want to take a look at it yourself for a more in-depth analysis. Otherwise, I'm going to point out just a few key features to help you understand the storyline as we enter the first Metroid game in the next video. Before we dive further into the story, take a look at where you are. This is the solar system and Earth as we know it. Now, the first 2,000 years that we've just described in the cosmos dealt only with the Chizo and maybe another race that we aren't sure about, but the Chizo were the great all-knowing race in those first 2,000 years. When we get to the year 2000 and the Galactic Federation, we start to talk about people and other races. Our story and the manga, the story of the childhood Samus Aran, starts in 2055. This is when Samus Aran is born. Now, Samus Aran was born on the planet K2L. She lived with her parents. Her father ran a supply depot that was in charge of the transfer of supplies to Galactic Federation ships and other species ships that came to K2L. During a rendezvous with the Galactic Federation ship, a famous pirate known as Ridley, who takes the form of a dragon, planned and led an attack on K2L. Before the attack transpired, 2 Chizo were able to meet Samus in the woods and also get off the planet before Ridley could invade. These 2 Chizo, one named Old Bird and one Grey Voice, were able to get on their ship and return to the planet of Zebes, where they're from, in order to continue their fight against a parasite that was dooming the universe. This was Parasite X. As Ridley invaded K2L, Samus's mother Virginia was forced to sacrifice her own life to protect Samus. In the midst of the attack, Rodney Aran climbed aboard his ship and detonated it, propelling the pirates away from the planet. Ridley was able to escape, but didn't leave unscathed. He was once again able to leave the planet without being killed, as he usually does throughout the series, because he is able to repair himself by either eating human or another species, consuming their cells, and repairing his own. Old Bird and Grey Voice returned to K2L after going back to Zebus to find Samus alone on the destroyed world. Old Bird opted to bring Samus back to Zebus in order to train her to be a positive fighting force in the universe for them. She spent 11 years or more training with the Kazoo, and when she was strong enough and willing enough, they gave her a special suit, a power suit that she could use to better breathe on their planet, survive on their planet, and to use in fighting the enemies of the universe. While she was on Zebus, Old Bird informed her of two things that would become crucial in her future. The first is the AI they developed on Zebus, which they called Mother Brain. Mother Brain helped them do a bunch of tasks, as she was the most complex AI in the universe. The other was a project he had been working on called the Metroids. It was an organism that sucks the life out of anything it touches, and it was being designed by the Kazoo in order to eradicate Parasite X from the universe. Now, the manga novels cover a lot more detail in the next section, but I'm just going to sum up the 4 or 5 major points so we can shorten it up a little bit. Samus would eventually leave Zebus to go fight for the Galactic Federation. Zebus would be attacked a number of times, and she would opt to go back and try to save Zebus. Upon returning to Zebus, she quickly noticed that the Kazoo had been pushed from their planet. The Pirate Rebellion had taken over Zebus, and Grey Voice, one of the Kazoo, had joined alongside them. Mother Brain was leading the entire rebellion, with Ridley right at her side. Because of Samus's timing and arrival to Zebus, she didn't understand that Grey Voice's intentions was always to turn against Mother Brain. He was simply trying to infiltrate her quarters. Samus would then come to learn that Grey Voice was actually the donor of the DNA that was fused with her so that she could breathe on their planet. So he became a surrogate father of sorts. Samus encountered a hologram of Old Bird, which explained what happened. He also explained that the Pirate Rebellion was not the only issue they had. The project of the Metroids had gone rogue, and they took refuge on planet SR-388, which was just near in the vicinity. Grey Voice would eventually betray Mother Brain, but he would be killed by Ridley in the process. Within due time, Grey Voice would contact Samus through Spirit and guide her on her new mission, which is where we start. The mission to eradicate the Metroids and to take down Mother Brain and the Pirate Rebellion. This is where our story begins, and this is where the first Metroid game takes off. There are many more fine details within the manga, and I suggest you read them because a lot of them are very interesting. But these are the things that I think are important in the character development that I think is required in order to understand the first Metroid game and where it begins. And so it begins. Metroid Zero mission takes place in the plains of Zebus, with Mother Brain far below in the confines of the planet that used to once belong to the Kazoo. Stay tuned for the first episode as we embark on one of the best gaming adventures of all time. It's one of the best series ever written by Nintendo, and I hope you enjoy it just as much as I do. So as always guys, stay on the bean, you do you, live life your way, and cheers you beauties.